Vladimir Lenin's The Military Programme of the Proletarian Revolution was written in 1916, amidst the horrors of World War I, a war that Lenin viewed as an imperialist struggle between rival bourgeois states. Lenin's purpose in this essay is to provide Marxists with clarity on their revolutionary duties during wartime. His analysis dismantles pacifism and reformism, exposes the betrayal of opportunists, and charts a path forward for the proletariat in an era of militarism and global capitalist conflict. For Lenin, war is not an isolated phenomenon, but a continuation of capitalist politics by violent means, and the only solution is proletarian revolution. Welcome to the Left Library, the home of simple political theory. Chapter 1. War as a continuation of capitalist politics. Lenin opens with the Marxist understanding that war is a product of class society. Far from being random or accidental, wars are rooted in the economic interests of ruling classes. In the case of World War I, Lenin identifies it as an imperialist war, a clash between capitalist powers seeking to expand their spheres of exploitation. To quote Lenin, war is simply the continuation of policy by other, i.e., violent means. For Lenin, the policies driving World War I were shaped by imperialism's insatiable appetite for markets, colonies, and resources. This understanding refutes the propaganda that framed the war as a noble struggle for freedom or democracy. The proletariat must see through these lies and understand the true nature of the conflict, a battle between imperialist powers to determine who will dominate the global capitalist system. Chapter 2. The bankruptcy of pacifism. Lenin turns his attention to pacifism, which he critiques as a naive and ultimately reactionary response to war. While pacifists advocate for peace, Lenin argues that their failure to address the root cause of war, capitalism, renders their position useless to the working class. To quote, "The demand for disarmament under imperialism is tantamount to advocating the surrender of the proletariat to the bourgeoisie." Lenin's argument is that peace without revolution is a mirage. As long as capitalism persists, the economic and political pressures that lead to war will remain. He acknowledges the horrors of war, but insists that true peace can only be achieved by dismantling the capitalist system. Any call for disarmament or peaceful solutions within the existing framework of imperialism only serves to disarm the working class ideologically and politically. Chapter 3. Militarism and the Proletariat. A critical element of Lenin's analysis is his nuanced understanding of militarism. While militarism under capitalism serves to oppress the working class, Lenin argues that the proletariat must not reject military training outright. Instead, they must learn the skills necessary to wage their own revolutionary struggle. Lenin said, "Socialists cannot be opposed to all military training. What they oppose is the use of the masses as cannon fodder for imperialist wars." Lenin envisions a future where the proletariat transforms militarism into a tool of liberation. Workers trained in arms under bourgeois regimes can use that knowledge to overthrow their oppressors. Thus, Lenin calls for the universal arming of the proletariat, not to fight for imperialist powers, but to defend their revolutionary gains and build socialism. Chapter 4. Revolutionary defeatism and turning imperialist wars into civil wars. Lenin introduces one of his most controversial ideas, revolutionary defeatism. He argues that the working class must oppose their own governments during imperialist wars, not by supporting the enemy state, but by transforming the war into a class struggle within each nation. To quote, the transformation of the present imperialist war into a civil war is the only correct proletarian slogan. Revolutionary defeatism demands that workers prioritize their class interests over national interests. By refusing to support their bourgeois governments, workers can undermine the war effort and create conditions for revolution. For Lenin, the chaos of war offers a unique opportunity to dismantle the capitalist system. Every imperialist war must be turned into a civil war, a war of the working class against the ruling class. Chapter 5. Exposing opportunism in the socialist movement. A significant portion of the essay is devoted to exposing the betrayal of opportunists within the socialist movement. Lenin reserves his harshest criticism for those who supported their national governments during the war, abandoning the principles of internationalism. To quote, "Those who recognize the class struggle in times of peace, but forget it in times of war, are traitors to socialism. These so-called socialists justified their betrayal by claiming that the war was a defensive struggle for democracy. Lenin exposes these arguments as lies designed to obscure the imperialist character of the conflict. True internationalists, he argues, must remain committed to the Proletarian principle that the working class has no country. Their struggle is global and their enemy is capitalism, no matter what national flag it hides behind." Chapter 6. The Proletarian Military Programme. Lenin concludes with a concrete outline of what a proletarian military programme should look like. Central to this programme is the idea that the working class must arm itself, not to serve bourgeois governments, but to prepare for revolutionary struggle. 1. Revolutionary military training. Workers must learn the art of war under conditions that prepare them for revolution, not for imperialist slaughter. 2. Universal arming of the proletariat. Lenin calls for the abolition of standing armies and their replacement with the armed people. 3. Transforming militarism. Under socialism, militarism will serve the defense of the workers' state rather than the interests of imperialism. To quote, "We are in favor of universal arming of the people. Under socialism, all the people will bear arms." This vision contrasts sharply with pacifist calls for disarmament. For Lenin, the arming of the proletariat is not only a necessity, but a guarantee of the revolution's survival. Chapter 7. Revolutionary internationalism. Throughout the essay, Lenin emphasizes the need for international solidarity among workers. He warns against the dangers of nationalism, which serves only to divide the proletariat and strengthen the bourgeoisie. Key quote: "The proletariat has no interest in supporting the policy of national defense carried out by bourgeois governments. Lenin's call for revolutionary internationalism is a rejection of the chauvinism that infected much of the socialist movement during the war. True internationalists, he argues, must unite workers across borders to fight their common enemy, the capitalist system." Conclusion. The path forward for the working class. In the military programme of the Proletarian Revolution, Lenin provides a comprehensive framework for Marxist engagement with war. He rejects both pacifism and opportunism, insisting that the working class must prepare for revolution through armed struggle. By turning imperialist wars into class wars, the proletariat can transform the horrors of capitalism into a new era of socialism. A final quote: "Only after the proletariat has defeated the bourgeoisie, disarmed it, and destroyed its state will wars become impossible." Lenin's essay is a call to action, demanding clarity, courage, and revolutionary commitment from Marxists in times of war. It remains a vital text for understanding the intersection of militarism, capitalism, and the revolutionary struggle. This has been the Left Library. If you've made it this far, consider subscribing for more simplified political theory.